All right, guys. So we're going to begin. This is going to be a gratitude despacho. This is what we call Añay. Añay is at the core of prosperity. It's at the core of anything that you want to increase, anything that it is meant to multiply, anything that it is meant to be sustained. Yeah, you can open our do you feel ready, Adriana?
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, if you feel ready, we can do it. Just a second.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
So this is a ritual for giving thanks for everything that we've received that you would like to get more of. And it is sometimes a little bit difficult to recognize the blessings. It is not as easy as you know as we conceptually think it is, that to appreciate the beautiful things in our lives, especially if we're dealing with difficult things, right? If we're dealing with challenging emotions and situations in our lives, loss of loved ones, like we've experienced recently, but also challenges, physical challenges. I was knocked out for a whole week right now, right? And it's challenging. It doesn't matter what level of existence you are. When you're dealing with the body, with something so physical and real to the ego, to your being, it is important to acknowledge and recognize those difficulties as well. So when we are giving thanks, when we're doing a gratitude despacho, when we're doing any kind of gratitude work, we want to also recognize what brought you to that gratitude, right? And recognize the challenges as basically your own tests, the tests that you put upon yourself, so that you can begin living a better existence. Like once you pass the test, then you don't need those same challenges again and again and again. And we've explained this in different ways, talking about, for example, I think I've shared an experience where I was like feeling manipulated and oppressed for a very, very long time, until that came to be that test when I said no more. And then like that came, and then from there onwards, things changed, right? There's not a manipulation or an oppression anymore. There's always in people's minds, you will always find antagonists, right? And these are also reflections of deeper layers of your subconscious, because everything is at the core. Everything pushes from within and projects outside. So when we are dealing with gratitude despacho, one of the things that we want to address, and then this is always, it doesn't matter if it's just a Pachamama despacho or any kind of despacho. You want to begin from the most grounded aspect of yourself, which is density, right? And this is in any kind of despacho, whether you're addressing the apples, whether you're addressing, again, Mama Cocha, Yakumama, any kind of element which seems to be in complete harmony with natural flow, you still want to come and address that from where you are. Meaning, like, don't get highly idealized into the priest or into the ideals of like divine flow and like just like everything is love and light. It is important to be real with what you carry as far as flow. And if you're honest enough, that there's some things within yourself that impede the flow in itself. And so if I'm addressing Mama Cocha, for example, the oceans, or the wisdom that comes from the Andes, right, from the Andean mountains, or any apple, if I'm addressing any of it, I want to see what are my challenges, where am I in respect to that, and then from there I have a reference point that I am working towards. And so here we are going to address the things that prevents us from being grateful. And what is this? If I ask you, for example, Yvonne, what would you say are some of the things that prevent you from being grateful? at times? I know that you're for the most part grateful, but what would be some of the things that would be make you be ungrateful at times?
Probably the negative feelings that come when I think about the fact that my family is no longer appreciative or no longer involved in my life.
The challenges, right? The things like what we were talking about, like the things that can become a little bit emotionally challenging. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for sharing that. Kendall, if I ask you what would be some things that you would say like make you forget about being grateful for and appreciative of the things that you have and that you're receiving?
I would say being in a state of comparison to others.
Huge. Thank you. And so for that is appreciating no cancani, right? We want to stay present with what we are and who we are, not so much in reference to anything or anyone else. But another thing that it's also a big challenge for everyone, and it's one of the most subtle ones that you will start to again and again become aware of it, is taking things for granted. Things become good, and things become really pleasant, and you reach plateaus of very comfortable settings with your emotions and things like this, and then like all of a sudden we just like think this is the rule, right? Like this is what should be, and we stop appreciating how good things are, right? And what happens is when we stop appreciating, we stop being grateful for things. We don't see the value when we don't appreciate that I have a good partner, or that I have some amazing children, or that I have food in my table, or a roof over my head, the basics, right? And even appreciating things like bills when things are tight, for example, or for example, something that I came up with in the third day, and was the thing that I used to be able to switch the whole physical aspect that I was going through. I was able to switch it around, is being grateful even for that, being grateful even for the intoxication that I had. I ate some black beans because I started some raw vegan diet, and almost raw except for beans. And long story short, I was like intoxicated, like food poisoning, and I didn't have half a plate. I had two big plates, and I was just like purging my guts out, right? And so throughout, I'm like, what is this, and so after a little bit of introspection and going into it, in the middle of sweats and cramps, and you can imagine, like to the point of almost hospital, I'm starting to be grateful and appreciative for the transition and what it's actually doing in a positive. And it's really hard to find the yin within the yang. It's really difficult sometimes to find the positive within the negative, right? And also stay grounded with the negative within the positive, to keep things balanced, to not get like super polarized into one direction. So here we're going to represent a few things. So if you have something in your house, you can do this right now. If you have something burned, if you have some old fruit, if you have, for example, I keep some roses, some rose petals that are dry, right? They served its purpose. Also some broken coca leaves. You can use, for example, if you've recently done any of the rituals of cutting threads, you can actually use the threads and put them here. And this is going to represent the hucha of us not being appreciative. We really want to make sure that we keep in perspective some of the things of where we're coming from, right? And this is where we begin, and this is where we're going towards now, after we put a little bit of these symbols. So having said that, we're going to begin. We're going to go step by step on this so that you guys can practice also. And as we start to construct, you can, we're gonna share a little bit of what each of these steps are. I asked for a few elements. I am going to add a few other elements that you might not have. If you don't have, don't worry about it. You can use your own version of different things to symbolize what to put in there what it represents. Some of the other things that I have that you might not have is ayahuasca and San Pedro, right? Divine Mother, Divine Father. You might have one of the things that you might not have is sulfur, right? It doesn't matter. If you can later on get sulfur, great. If not, just use any type of fucha. But this is a little bit higher type of working with heavy density when you're using sulfur, because it actually does represent very, very dark negative entities. And so what I'm calling forward, because I know that everything parts from within myself, everything starts from within myself. I'm actually calling that hucha from within myself so that I can recognize it, right? I'm calling forward in a very, very tangible ways. You can do it in your own pace. You can do it in your own way. And so, having said that, we'll begin shortly after we open sacred space. We'll have Adriana guide us for this. Gracias, Adriana. Thank you for guiding us.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to open sacred space. I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here with all of you. I just want to start by, well, first let me say this is going to be in Quechua, English, and Spanish, a mixture of it all. So if we don't understand anything, that's okay. Just feel the vibration and receive it. But I'd like to just start by having us visualize ourselves in a crystal of any color you need. Feeling the heartbeat of Pachamama. Feeling your own heartbeat. Receiving the Sami from Pachamama, the cosmos. Filling your body with light. Papukuna, Haukikuna, Ruaukuna, Pachamama Nista. Naupakuna, Hentilkuna, Unat Gausai Kampa. Timunchay Waiku, Ripanchay Waiku, Ulunchay Waiku, Yawatray Waiku. Kunan, Fuanshaw, Rokapa Sky Ceremoniapi Patkuni. Janapa Waiti, Karapira Yai Paksai, Tunanyang Tunata. Hansi Suyu, Koya Suyu, Konti Suyu, Kinchay Suyu. Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Anyan, Anyan, Anyan. Apu Wasangate, Apu Luelako, Apu Salkantay, Apu Ilimani. Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Nusa Yankati, Nusa Mama Simona, Nusa Muantay, Nusa Bakatulka. Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Gracias. Munay, Yachay, Yankay, Kausay. Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Aukinisti, Aukishasta, Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Gracias. Para viento, Ulkaina, Yaku Uno, Mama Alpha, Hampoi, Hampoi, Hampoi. Gracias. I'd like to invite you to call in any guides and guardians of your own. A hummingbird, sky wolf, the toad for fertility and abundance, for clarity and good luck, Amaru, for higher consciousness, sacred wisdom and knowledge, Lukuntur, great transmuter of death, the crystal puma, a symbol of our vitality, our physical strength, the lizard, the symbol of Pachamama. Call in the master teachers of the Andean Cosmovision to be with us during the ceremony. To bless us with their sacred knowledge, their wisdom, their initiations into the Andean lineage. Gracias. Gracias. The Ascended Masters, Yeshua, Buddha, Isis, Naturu, Ra, the archangels. I'd like to offer this medicine song to open this sacred space. Todo cura, todo sana, todo tiene medicina dentro. Todo cura, todo sana, todo tiene medicina dentro. Todo tiene aire dentro. Todo tiene fuego dentro, todo tiene tierra dentro, todo tiene agua dentro, todo tiene medicina dentro, todo tiene universo dentro. Llego, hay universo dentro. Llego, hay universo dentro. Todo tiene un universo dentro. Thank you.
Bajo, hermano. Thank you so much. Gracias. Gracias. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up space for our own subconscious unconsciousness. Now, it is important to recognize these two words, subconscious and unconscious. They're beyond what you're aware of. People traditionally, religiously mostly, we have been afraid of what we don't know, even if it's within us, and we make somebody else responsible for it. So here we're going to become aware of it by bringing in the essence of those things that we're not aware of that prevents us from, with the purpose of becoming aware of the things that do not let us be grateful for all we have, or tripping ourselves with, or putting our own rocks that we trip up here. No Cancanio, Andrés Gael, Radillo, Manta, no Capi, Salta, May. Hampuy. Invoco en este momento este Espíritu Santo. De las gracias por estar aquí siempre conmigo. Con toda libertad. Gracias por esta expresión. These right here are broken coca leaves. And with these broken coca leaves, I represent everything that is old, everything that hasn't served a purpose within you. or that it did and it hasn't learned how to continue flowing. These are all plans that were never finished. These are frustrated intentions, a purpose forgotten. All of the things that we have fall short of and just stuck in a closet thinking that we were not capable or we didn't have the means and the resources, and they're now part of our subconscious forgotten, collecting a lot of energy, pushing us to reconcile ourselves. Gracias a todas las intenciones, a todos los deseos de grandeza. Gracias a todas aquellas cosas que me han dejado de creer en mí mismo, por las cuales he dejado de creer en mí mismo. All of those things that have got stuck in your energy field that are cause for you to stop believing in yourself. But also the cost for us wanting always more. Have a little bit of rose petals. This is to bring harmony to it, so that we may find purpose. If you think about the rose petals, they're actually, you smell them, they still they smell like roses, right? So there was something, even though that you might have forgotten a purpose, or identified yourself with the lack of possibility or capability, or the lack of blessings to fulfill those desires. You can start appreciating even those challenges and those aspects that you fall short of as something that has been of purpose, that has brought you to a space for you to be able to recognize. All of those things in our mind, in our subconscious, they don't taste so well. They don't smell well either. So we use clove. And so clove is used to neutralize all of those bad smells, all of those bad scents and tastes that we have. So here what we want to do is we're going to take off our apprehension, the apprehension that we might have from our actual literal taste from those things that are in our subconscious and conscious, and those like smells that we end up projecting towards others, which is our own energy. ¿Me pasas un libro, por favor? Next is going to be the cotton. And so this is what has been. This is what has been. This is where we're coming from. And we want to appreciate those things. Now, this is a symbology for you to start allowing those things to become aware in you. You want to understand that even though we're moving in an evolution process, this will take some consciousness reconciliation. What this will look like and feel like, this could be a little bit difficult for you to recognize those things that we have taken for granted. The people that we have taken for granted, the blessings that we have taken for granted, but also the reasons why we're in comparison, right? And the reasons why we are so afflicted and so affected by difficult situations in our life, right? And it's the love and it's the attachments and all of this, as we become aware of it, this is also an attestment that you're walking the path. Because it's not a, all rainbows. It's becoming aware of our shadow. So once we have symbolized the shadow, then we begin. It's important to put these layers. These layers are, we finish with one aspect of our life, and then we begin something new. This is the aspect of the sacred masculine within you. When we don't know how to do this, then we're stuck always still on the old. We're stuck on the older layers. So it is pretty critical, pretty important for us to be able to know how to define times and spaces. And this is the masculine definition. Space in itself, which is the feminine, is undefined. And so here we're using our intelligence to give purpose to all of that space that has been. I think I have one more. These are much easier instead of rolling one by one. So just to remind you guys, this also represents the diaper. This is from Maria Pasamachaca, our auto ensayo. She speaks about this layer as the soft diaper where you're going to put your newborn intention. And so the part that you put in a diaper is the baby's safety, the groundedness, but also its creativity, right? But it's brand new. It's a fresh new seed, like the baby. So what we're depositing here, it needs to be in a soft, really soft bed of care, right? And it is away from all of the difficulties that we've experienced from, lack of appreciation and everything else. So if you guys remember, the first thing that we did was putting some broken ones, right? And so here, what we're gonna do is, if you already have them, great, good for you. You can just put them apart. We wanna put some whole ones, as whole as you can. These ones come from Cusco, and they are, a lot of the times they're hard to find. Some whole ones because they are pretty dry, but there's a few. And so this exercise is part of when you later on, if this is something that calls you, you can do coca leaf readings with a coca leaf. And this is part of something that you want to do. And what you do once you're searching is you're looking for the right message, right? In this case, it's not so much the right message, we're looking for the right setting. We want to relate to our Uku Pacha. If you guys remember the three ways that the three aspects of the quinto, the coca quinto, is one of it is the Uku Pachas, the Andean trilogy, which is the Uku Pacha, the Kai Pacha, and the Panak Pacha, which is this intention is going to reach all of your levels of existence, the lower dimensions, the here and now, and all of the higher dimensions. So that's the vertical axis. And we also want to do it on a horizontal axis, and that is going to be time space continuum as we know it. And as long as we're here in the Qhapaq, we must address the time space continuum as a linear time. Even if with practice we start to understand, and with sacred medicine and with deep experiences that you're granted by the Qhapaq Ñan, you are able to understand that time is not linear. In the despachos, we still want to do it like this. We still want to recognize that yesterday is not tomorrow. Yesterday, you already have a conception of what happened, and it is something that you experience, and you have become what you are here and now. And this is just being grounded, right? Now, tomorrow is going to come in the sense of the spiritual understanding of what time and space is. Time is not linear, meaning that tomorrow already happened. And in an even more more, you could say, advanced way of understanding, yesterday hasn't happened yet. This is a teaching from Manuel Quispe also, but without getting too much into any of that yet, for now, we just need to understand that the quinto, the 3 leaves, is past, present, and future, and you are right in the middle. When you put them all together, you're collapsing the dimensional axis with all of the dimensions here and now. And so you put them all together instead of once we put the intention here and we bring them all together, this is what we're doing, is we're collapsing space and time. And this right here represents the integration of this intention in everything that you are, because you exist in the past, you also exist in billions and trillions of different futures that you can choose in this moment. And you exist also in the Ukupacha, Qhapaq, and the Hanakpacha, all simultaneously. So when you bring them in here, this is a symbol. When you put them all together and you pile them up one on top of the other, this is what you're doing. What you're doing is basically collapsing space and time. And so for here, if you have your quinto in front of you, you want to put your intention here, understanding that this intention, this prayer that you want to offer in this despacho, this intention, what do you want to be grateful for, right? And what do you want? As you collapse it, all of those aspects within you should come into a oneness aspect within yourself, into the no kankan, reconciling to the no kankan. A ver, la pausa, fíjate. Pero en este momento que no sientes aquí, pero que sigas en este momento, esta intención, también aquí, a tu estación, que la madre, gracias por estar aquí presente, y también, gracias, para que tú escuchaste, estaba abajo, pues algo hasta poco de vista. Entonces, Auxiliar, les doy las gracias por estar presentes y ser testigos y observadores de este momento en el que voy a hacer esta inclusión, el más alto bien de todos mis ancestros, de todos mis amigos, de todas mis relaciones. El cañón que me dio la vida. Espero que mi intención en este momento sea agradecido por todo, absolutamente todo lo que soy, por todo lo bueno, todo lo malo, por todo lo alto, por todo lo bajo, por todo lo pasado, todo lo futuro. Dando gracias por el reconocimiento de todo lo difícil, de toda la lucha, todo el sangre. Feliz Cantincuy, del son cuchara. Dando gracias por cada una de las 4 partes del inframundo. Dando gracias. Tahuantinsuyo, por reconocerme aquí en este momento presente. Gracias al norte, al sur, al este y al oeste. Dando gracias siempre a mi Pachamama y a mi Taita, Vamos, gracias. Mi pachatata. Con mi madre. Gracias, gracias, gracias. When you have the quinto, you can do a few things with it. You can, once it's locked in, you can do kuti, which is counterclockwise, or you can do no kankani, which is clockwise. This intention is for expansion. So the no kankani is the completion of, the kuti is the dissolving of, is the undoing. The kuti means undoing. No kankani. No kankani. No kankani. Esta intención se ha recibido en el Qhapaq Ñan, mi pasado, presente y futuro, para mi más alto ser, para poder llegar a ese y más allá. Salta Añaychay y aliento, conciencia de aliento. Now from here, we're going to do the fig. And so you want to take a few seeds. You can scoop them out with your fingers and start to put them. You can do a few things. You can scoop them out with a knife, and you can put them in the north, the south, the east, and the west, or you can put them all around. It's up to you. But recognize that these seeds that you're putting here, they represent, you're giving life to this. Para que este señor les ayude a no endurecer esta intención. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Then from here, you want to make this pass into reality. These intentions with these seeds, they need to start germinating, they start growing into actuality, into your existence, making part of your universe. Hopefully, we have your I know that you don't have your Nisa yet, but I know some of you guys do, Melanie, Donnie. But if you don't, at least put it in a sacred space where you have your altar and such. Richard, despierta, despierta y pasa, despierta y pasa. One of the things that I'd like to remind you guys is, these are teachings from Juan Núñez del Prado. One of the things that he says is, it doesn't have to be pretty. This has to be heartfelt. Don't want to do a lot of aesthetics on it. It's nice when it's pretty, right? But it should be pretty on its own based on the emotion, right? When it's pure, when it's sincere, when you're not making it like the ego, like I wanna dress up really nice, and obviously this is good for taking care of yourself, but it is way more beautiful, your radiance and your inner essence, when it's unfiltered, when it's just glowing outside, right? When it's like pushing outside. Next is gonna be the butter. Now butter, hopefully you can get some raw butter, some real butter. And the butter represents structure. In the Andes, they don't use butter, right? They use llama fat. And the llama fat is what gives structure to all intentions and all emotions. A lot of times we have problems with cholesterol or other types of cardiac issues and problems, And this has a lot to do people with high cholesterol or again, heart problems, different things like this. One of the issues that come always when we're working with them in medicine, when we're working with them, is lack of the father. The father energy is structured. So think about a building, right? That's a structure. It has really well-defined edges and support beams and the whole thing, right? So all of that is the masculine. The circle is the feminine. The line and squares, it's like 4 squares is the structure of the masculine. So here I have the masculine, which is giving structure to all of these intentions. So what? So this is so that I myself can start. I'm praying for my own capacity, for my own ability to give structure to these intentions. How? I might not know yet, but one thing for sure is you're going to become wiser so that you can start observing in which ways you are meant to speak. You are meant to walk. You're meant to say, no, thank you. You're meant to say, yes, please. You're meant to, direct yourself in time and space so that you can build structure and you can give a tangible manifestation to that intention. Now, it gets difficult because you might say like, okay, what does it mean to be intentional? Like, what does it mean to be tangible with gratitude, right? How does gratitude looks in a tangible world? This is for you to discover. This is when emotions are not subjective anymore. For you, you know that an emotion is something tangible that you can use, and it has a very specific effect. Just like a vitamin, that you take a vitamin and you're going to get, a better cognitive function, if it's vitamin B, for example, or whatever, right? You take an aspirin, it's going to have an effect that is tangible, right? Well, the same way an emotion of gratitude has an effect, but you want to make sure that that has a very specific and well-defined effect in your life so that you can use it. And so these are the ways that you're going to start to recognize this within yourself so that you can start appreciating the gifts of gratitude. A lot of gratitude really makes a life lack of fear, devoid of fear. You're not going to have any stresses if you're grateful. You're not going to have any issues if you're grateful, even for the stresses, even for the things that are difficult in your life. Those things just flow, and they leave you with messages, and then they come less and less and less because you become bigger. These are little waves that used to bother you before. They're not bothering you anymore. So here we're going to represent Pachamama and Pachatata. And so we're going to represent Pachamama with red petals. You have your carnations or your roses. And do a half circle on the left. Left is feminine. And you want to do the white. To the right. So when we're putting the red to the left, we're invoking Mother Earth. Now, Mother Earth is time and space. Mother Earth is Mother Earth. Pachamama is Mother Earth. Mother Earth is Pachamama, is the divine feminine. And it's whenever you think of time and whenever you think of space, that is the feminine. When you're addressing the right, when you're addressing the masculine, this is Pachatata. And so when you're addressing Pachatata, this is Taita Inti, this is the sun. This is the consistency within you. You know, for those of you guys who have ever been really depressed, what has kept you going, you know, that you call yourself, is like a self-preservation instinct. That is a feminine. Another way, you know, and I'm talking about the low parts, right? Whenever you have felt inspired, you know, whenever you get aha moments, you know, that's the energy of the masculine. Whenever you've created, even if they don't work, you've created really beautiful plans to have a better future, better relationships, right? This is intelligence. And wherever you are wherever you are at a X level of awareness, consciousness, insights, and you're always 100% of the time, and this is beautiful because it includes time. It doesn't matter what space or what timeline you're in, you're always in connection to intelligence also, which puts time and space into perspective, meaning you're able to make sense of purpose in life, of your purpose, of a direction. And this right here is the principle of intelligence within you. So here we wanna bring him together, and we call them forward. I call them forward from the moment I opened up, because these are the means for balance. When you just have a lot of feeling, when you just have a lot of emotion, a lot of sensation, things become subjective. Things are not grounded, and the here and now, it's not something that you can count on. When you have only intelligence and you're not feeling, you also become subjective, because you're not taking into consideration the space and the timing of things. And these are the dictators in life, right? These are the Hitlers of our history, and other type of really abrasive. Now, they both can be very, very destructive if they're not balanced. So within yourself, when there's any type of imbalance, you're either missing insight or you're missing connection to yourself. You can have all of the insight in the world and be very disconnected to yourself. That means that you're just operating from your masculine. And you can have a lot of emotion, you know, and you can be super well connected to absolutely everything. And it doesn't make any difference, because there's no meaning to it. There's no purpose, right? When you have both, then things can be complementary. And this is the purpose of bringing these two energies. Now, what does it mean to bring him for you? To bring gratitude into existence, to be grateful for the huchas and the samis of your life, for the highs and the lows. In balance, it means that you're very well connected, and this is warrior, this is causa, giving existence to everything that is felt and to everything that you can understand, even if what you can understand is difficult, you know, it feels heavy, you know, but you're understanding that life, you know, is not as, you know, Disney as you thought it, you know, it could have been, right? Or it was. And so to bring them both into alignment, it's neutrality. You're neutral in both feeling and thinking, in both intelligence and the highest expression of feeling is love. The highest expression of thinking is wisdom. So wisdom and love, loving intelligence and intelligent love. So when you have them both within yourself, that's the Iyatiksi Wiracocha within you. So gratitude is one of the characteristics of Iyatiksi Wiracocha. So what we're bringing, the reason we bring always Pachamama and Pachatata is because this is where we're going to the ultimate balance within us, within ourselves. So now all there is left to do in a personal level, at a personal touch for myself, I am going to add a little bit of medicine to it. Because it's been a couple of months since I've done medicine. And I'm restarting my path with mother in a very vivid way. I'm also starting my path with Guachimita. Gracias, madre, gracias para los instrumento, para los brazos. Gracias por este camino que estoy recorriendo. Gracias por este camino que estoy compartiendo con mis hermanos. Y yo les gracias por estar ahí siempre conmigo, por no abandonar este camino, por no abandonar esta inspiración, por estar constantes, como lo son ustedes. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Now we give thanks. We give thanks to all of it. Mother Earth. A little bit of sugar. Celebrate the union. You have some rice. You can celebrate the union of your intentions with your balance, so that this gratitude, this gratefulness that you have for everything that has been and everything that you're asking for, gratitude in itself that you're requesting for your life, can be merged in both the masculine and the feminine. You can have corn or cornmeal. This is just now. This is Richari means awaken, and the awakening is not in 2 years or tomorrow, is now. So as you want to start vibing this gratitude and getting the intelligence to recognize the things that you want to be grateful for. In all of its variety. These are the candy sprinkles, different colors, different ways in which you're going to be able to recognize all of it, all of it. It's difficult sometimes to recognize the gratitude, to recognize the things that we can be grateful for if they don't feel good. You know, your ego is going to be like, I don't want this shit. You know, it's like, what do I want to do? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And thank you for us being alive and allowing us to see the things that we can, you know, improve. Celebrando con Pachamama. So just on the left side, you do the red wine. And you do on the white side, you do red wine. think celebration, think party, for you being able to receive this consciousness of gratitude. A few other things that you can add, if you have them, that's completely fine. You can add feathers, you can add beans, you can add lentils, you can add a lot of different things that can be of assistance to you connecting to the symbology. A ver, yo piste de la cosa. Hampuy, Pachamama, Mahalpa, Mamacocha, Yacamama, Amaguaira, Taita Yinchi, Pachacata, Taita Guaira, Mira Taita. Hampuy, yo piste de la cosa. Gracias, Padre, Madre Mía, por este momento de agradecimiento en nuestros corazones, en nuestras mentes. Necesitamos despertar la conciencia del agradecimiento, del añay. Gracias. Gracias a todos nuestros ancestros, gracias a todos los seres defendidos, gracias. Gracias al norte, al sur, al este y al oeste, gracias Padre, Madre Vida. Gracias, Jesús y Guaracote. Damos gracias de todo corazón y declaramos este momento realizado. ¡Ajo! And that is it. Usually you can do a few things immediately. If you don't have any candles burning, you can just wrap it up and put it in the fire or bury it. If you do have candles, what I personally like to do is let them finish, and obviously it's representing a few different things, right? It's representing the Hanakpacha, the Ukupacha, is representing Mother Divine, Father Divine. And so when it all finishes, this is the energy that is feeding the despacho. As soon as it finishes, then it is ready to go and be given to Mother Earth being time and space, so that she can take it and makes it real. So she can manifest it in this tangible reality. You can, because we're working with a little bit of hucha as suggested too, especially in this case, because I brought some sulfur. If you're working just with, some things that you're already aware of, this is not such heavy hucha. For example, if you know that you have some conflict with your mom because of a belief of misery with money, then you cut the cords and you have those threads and you use that as the hucha at the very bottom of the despacho. That is not so intense that it's gonna sway you around. But here, with the sulfur, you're calling subconscious things of energy, of energetic nature that you might not be aware of, right? Subconscious, unconscious. And so for those things, it's better to bury them, right? You have to make decisions, be conscious of what are you doing with the energy, what kind of how much are you tapping into the hucha aspect, so that you can be very responsible and manage these energies well. If you burn it, for example, if you were to burn a hucha despacho, a kuti despacho, I mean that's for starters, it's a huge no-no, right? You can do it if you want, but you will never hear anyone recommend it, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna energize, you're gonna empower all of that pucha, and it's gonna be a really huge catharsis for you. If if you don't believe this, try it. I've done it and it's not recommended. Even putting a little bit of fire, here, it needs to be very intentional. What kind of candles, the colors of the candles, things like this, right? You need to be very aware of how you're doing it and why you're doing it, so that everything that you're doing means something, and it means an intelligent design, so that you don't have to expose yourself to difficult challenges, difficult things. And it doesn't matter if you do, you're going to learn from it. And if you ever do burn a kuti despacho, you're going to see like, shit, I don't want to do that again, So it's live and learn, right? But you do learn from these experiences, and you learn, and that's the value, right? That experience that you take, you learn to be more respectful with your own energy, with the things that you carry. So that is pretty much it. But I don't think Emmeline is here today, so I want to ask if you guys have any questions, any doubts, anything at all in regards to everything that we've spoken today. I'm gonna open up to see if anybody has anything to say. Preguntas, comentarios.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a request.
Yes.
And that particular request is, I'm finding the idea of the despachos extremely powerful,
Yes.
but at the same time, when we're doing it together, I'm finding it like very confusing. So it feels like my energy is trying to understand what we're doing, and at the same time, I really want to feel the activity, the appreciation, the need, the inner need for the despacho. But because I feel so scattered and don't have, like you started off with certain things that I'm like, okay, maybe I can go get them. So then getting up and getting them, I'm finding that my energy is split as I'm trying to find things that, I didn't have handy. So my request would be that we have a little bit more of a written format of what we can have and possible options for things that maybe we don't have, so that when we are gathering the things for the despacho, that we do have an ability to be able to be witness to what you're doing, because I'm feeling the energy deep inside of what it is that you're doing. And I'm appreciating how this despacho is really beautiful and necessary, but at the same time, my energy is rather scattered, as opposed to being central into what it is that I'm trying to do. So it's more of probably a little bit more questions and comments as well at the same time. So that's what I'm asking for.
So let me repeat what you said to make sure that I understood it well. It feels like you're tuning into the energy, the purpose, and the process so deeply that you feel it well, but at the same time, it's not making too much sense conceptually. You're not kind of like following to the point that it can actually make sense, so that you can repeat it on your own. Is that what it is?
Well, it's two things. I would love to repeat it on my own, yes. But I also feel like when we're doing it as a group, the energy and the energetic feeling of doing it as a group and doing it with you is very, very powerful. So maybe you, because you are our shaman, that energy that you bring forth into this beautiful creation of the despacho is something that I really resonate with. But because I don't have all of the ingredients, that's where my scattering comes forth. I think I can possibly do this on my own, of course, but I don't think you will have the greater and greatest impact that it does being provided with your energy and with the energy of the group as a whole, if that makes sense.
Okay, so the challenge is that the energy of the group is greater than what you feel that you could do on your own? I'm a little lost into how the energy of the group and myself is representing a little bit of a challenge for you. With you, you also
Okay.
mentioned something like scattered something. I'm trying to.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is because I didn't have all of the ingredients that you were mentioning before,
Yes.
brain was thinking, oh, maybe I'll have that. So then I would get up and try and get what you were getting, what you were mentioning.
Yeah.
And so then as I'm doing that, you know, my energy is going out into away from here to try and get what we and then I come back and I can really come back into the energy of the group and what you're saying. So I feel like if I had more, like, I mean, I had whatever was on the list.
Yes.
I
Yep.
didn't have that,
Yeah.
but I didn't have some things that felt like, oh, that would have been really nice. One thing that I think you mentioned was the clothes. You know, I'm like, oh, that would have been really, really nice. And you mentioned the threads, and I was like, oh yes, I have the threads. So I went and got the threads,
Good.
and it just makes it more. It makes it more impactful because you are definitely bringing some things that my heart is asking for. My heart is needing what it is.
Good.
Like you, and I was like, oh yes, I have the threads. And then we talked about it,
Yeah.
and I.
So-
Am I making sense?
Yes. So the question here is, what else do you feel like you want to put in? So at the very bottom of the list, I put like, put your own thing. Do you remember that I put like that? I don't know if you read the list. And at the very end of
Yes.
the list is bring your own essence. Because this is what it is, you know, like me putting ayahuasca right now, it's something that I am called for, right? And this is not very traditional at all. Putting ayahuasca, you will never see a Pampamisayo que in the Andes put ayahuasca in their despachos, or San Pedro, you know, they don't bring. I have a special relationship with them, so I can put sapito in, and you know, using the threads, as hucha. This is something also that it is not necessarily only not traditional, but it is also at the same time something that it is more a little bit personal. What it is not personal is the things, not so much that it's not personal, but it is not that it is traditional still, are some of the things that I put over there in the list. For example, the eucalyptus leaves, right? Or the bay leaves, right? So you can use those and you can crush those, and those could be your hucha. And that right there, the only thing that you want to do with that is, you know, connect to that hucha. Now, if you are also called to bring those, the threads, right? Bring, for example, if for whatever reason you happen to have sulfur in your kitchen or in your toolkit, you know, whatever, and it feels like that, you know, like one of the things that I saw Donnie and Kendall doing right away, and I know that, you know, mobility might be a little bit of an issue in this case, but they're like, yes, that makes sense. Then they just go and get it and they come back. That's that scattered situation, you know, it's just a little bit of like wanting to have everything like I want everything like and so for that, you know, let me show you. I do, every time that I do a despacho, Yvonne, it doesn't matter if I don't use it all, but I have a ton of different things in here. You know, I have candles, and then I have all of the elements that I have here. I have a few boxes full with different things that they can they like, if they call me in the moment, if it's something that I have to do, then it is meant to be done, you know. And so as I am getting everything ready, once I had sent the list, and the list are the basic requirements, right? The list are the basic things that you can really count on for this to be complete. And then as you're getting everything together, you're like, you know what? I saw this beautiful feather outside of a bird, you know, and I kind of like dismissed it in the moment, but now it's coming and it's the freedom. And it so happened that I don't have feathers, so I'm just gonna go get it. And you kind of like improvise in the moment, right? And this is actually something that you can see the Pampa Misayos do a lot of the times, especially like, for example, the Alto Misayos. I've been told stories that, who was it? I think it was Nico. Nico was telling me a story that he was up in Ausangate doing an Alto Misayo initiation for his brother Rolando, who is the Alto Misayo who initiated me. And Rolando, he was doing the initiation, and then the Apu told Rolando, you need llama fat, right? And they didn't have llama fat, they had alpaca, they had a different type of animal fat. And it's like, you need llama fat, right? And so Nico in the middle of it, he had to stand up and he put everything on hold, and he went to the nearest town in horse, and it took him an hour to go and come back. And then he had now the specific thing, right? Now, who told him that? In this case, it was the Apu, but the Apu represents the intelligence that inspires you. So if in the moment you get inspired to add this, to add that, you can add like all of a sudden you need sweetness in your life, for example, right? You're like, you know, I just would like a little bit, you know, it's better to be dealing with, you know, emotions that are heavy, like for example, you know, jealousy or envy or whatever, right? Like, and you start to recognize that those emotions are bitter, and you're like, I'm fucking tired of that. And so like, I'm gonna go in, and you get Nutella, you know, things like this, you know, and just like, that's not traditional, but it represents, and it means, the meaning of it is what it's important for you. If you can actually get an emotional response from that specific thing, then you have a special connection to that. And that special connection is my special connection with ayahuasca in this case. It doesn't mean that you don't have a special connection because you're doing microdose. You can also add it, right? It is not, I don't have a copyright on it, or, you know, a patent on this specific formula, but you can you know, get it in the moment. The same thing, as I was doing all of this, that's when I got inspired to do the San Pedro, right? And I'm like, I'm putting Mother Ayahuasca, I'm gonna do a little bit of San Pedro too. I was using the first chuyo, and then like something told me, it's like, no, you have to use the other chuyo, you know, and so I have, you know, two of them. And so little things like this, right? And so you start to this is what I mean with play with it. Like, just like allow yourself to be free with the process, and with the whole thing. Now, I think someone put in there that, you know, all it takes for you kind of like becoming very free, you know, free flow with the whole process is, you know, watch the videos and recordings. I think we have 2 classes of Despacho so far, and this could be considered another one, you know, a little bit of tips. And so you watch them a few times, and then you can start wondering, it's like, what else can I do? And why not? Why wouldn't I do it? You know, and so like you start to play with it to the point where, you know, you all of a sudden you find yourself cutting, you know, from paper, you start cutting you know, star shapes, or you start cutting circles to represent the feminine in different ways, right? You can start also doing different arrays and geometry with quintus, different intentions. You know, you put an intention in the north, an intention in the south, east, and the west. You can get very, very creative because there's no limits to this, right? And so there shouldn't be any as much as you want to do, you can do, basically. And but for all of the symbols and everything, I think I've given most of it that it's traditional. Obviously, I didn't put Mother Ayahuasca in the elements the first time around, right? I'm gonna take this off because I'm hearing a lot of it. But it doesn't matter what it is. You can put whatever you put. Like I work a lot with magnets. Magnets are not traditional but because it is something that for me is something that I can use. You know, I work with them every night because I have like a whole set of like biomagnetism type of therapy that I do it myself. And so I have a good relationship with that. I also have a really good relationship with grounding. I ground every night. And so there's different elements that you can do. What else? Music, right? Prana, you know, I have ormus, and you can add ormus to this, and you can really just feel like the energization of the whole thing. Traditionally, I think I've given you most of it that you can get. There's other things that you won't be able to get, like koya or payaire, or even coca leaves. You know, it's difficult to get them in over there. But you might be able to find the Despacho bags online. You know, you go to like Cusco online stores. You might be able to find different things for your despachos. But even if you have those things, you know, I remember the first time that I bought my first Cuti Despacho preparation bag. I didn't know what to do with it. I had all of it. I had all of it, and it was prepared by Pampa Misayots, you know, from the Andes. And so I could recognize maybe like about 30% of all of the stuff that is in there. A lot of it I didn't know what it was. Different kinds of sulfur, different kinds of like shells, like black shells of a food that we don't get in Mexico or in the US, you know, and little things like this, you know, it's very regional. And so what this tells us is that it must be something that you have a relationship with, because if I don't have a relationship with those items, even though that they're the right items, they're the correct items, I don't have any power to it. There's nothing that I can do with it. Does that make sense?
Does make sense. So does that basically mean that I can create a certain relationship? Say, for example, I'll go and get pebbles, and the pebbles for me represent, I don't know.
Great question. Great question. Great question. So for that, you want to make sure that your meaning, the meaning that you're giving to it, for example, what does this tell you? What does this represent for you? It's a red candle.
A red candle, it
Yeah.
represents Christmas, represents love, harmony.
Great. You know what this does in an ayahuasca ceremony?
No.
Sexual energy, and everybody wants to start having sex. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. We had to put like people apart. So there's a subconscious collective meaning to it. If your personal meaning is in alignment with the collective meaning, then you're good. But because this represents death, you know, for the collective, you know, for a lot of people, right? Yeah, I need to make sure that for me personally, I don't have alcoholics in my family that I have suffered with. Because if I go and say, well, for the Quero, this represents traditional, this is celebration, then I am going to celebrate my own misery, my own, you know, the difficulties in my life, you know? So I have to make sure that the meanings that I keep, this is a really good question for everybody. The meanings that I put into my despachos, they need to be in alignment with my personal experience need to be in alignment with collective understandings. If they're not, I need to be aware of it and I need to release the conflict from it. Meaning, like, if this for the collective is alcoholism and death and divorce and separation and end of businesses and the whole thing, then if that is what it means for me, I need to actually break the patterns with it if I am going to use it. I need to break the connection, the relationship. So that means that I have some conflict with alcohol. I cannot use anything that I have conflict with. Does that make sense? Now, if I am in alignment with, you know, like, for example, what does the pebbles represent for you?
Nothing was an example.
Got it. So say,
Like
for example, the pebbles represent rivers and flow, you know, just as an example, right? But for somebody else,
Yeah.
these pebbles represent something difficult. Yeah. Then I need to make sure that if I am going to use them, I am aware of what is my relationship with the collective. And this is little by little how you start to emancipating from collective understandings, right? So that when people come and see something and they tell you, it's like, oh, this is what this means, economy coming down, you know, or you know, another virus, you know, or something like that. Your relationships, the meanings that you put to sickness, the meanings that you put to, you know, collective pandemias or stuff like this, pandemics, you're not influenced by the negative meanings that they have. And this is the merchant. This is the merchant. So this is so interesting because I was just talking about this with my partner today, or 2 days ago, or yesterday actually. And it is about how we need to re-signify. We need to give a new meaning to the things that we to basically find new meanings for the things that cause us conflict. Things that simple, we started talking with at the beginning of the course with things like sacrifice, right? Sacrifices for a lot of people is like I have to surrender myself and my desires so that my family can have, I have to sacrifice myself and go to work, and I won't enjoy them, but I know that they're going to go to good schools and they're going to go, for them to have like a good life, right? So I sacrifice my life for them, and I don't get to do the things that, yes, I want them to be happy, and ultimately is that, but my personal desires, I have to put them in a shelf, or I have to put them in a closet, that type of sacrifice is a very collective way of feeling, for most everyone. And so resignifying that is I am making that sacred. Sacrifice comes from sacred office, sacred duty. So if I am making that my sacred duty, then I don't have conflict with what I'm doing, and then also when I don't have conflict with what I do, the things that I want also will flow. And then all of a sudden, if I wanted to go into a vacation for Disneyland and or a vacation to Aruba with my partner, right? Like all of a sudden, in doing the things that I love, those things will actually start to flow also. There's a lot to it, without getting too much into subjectiveness or the ways of laws of attraction or anything like that, is not suffering what you're doing so that you can actually be in a state of flow, in a state of blossoming. This is what it means to resignify, and this is just one word in the way that you relate to an action. But when we're talking about specific things, it's also very important, like the candle situation, right? Like the fat, right? The butter, being the structure. What does it mean? There's a book that I've recommended a few times to you guys. I'm going to recommend it one more time. That is called Humano Puente. That is called Human Bridge. And it talks about, all of the things, whether it is a sickness or a thing, the spiritual meanings and the reasons why. These are a comprehensive study of the collective understandings of different values and emotions and things, also human conditions. So again, things like people that have diabetes is because they have a lot of bitterness inside, and they have that bitterness of emotion. It's the manifestations in energies, the manifestation, and then what it somatizes as is your inability to regulate your insulin, for example. This is, and it has to do a lot with sweetness because it's the complete opposite of bitterness, right? And so things like this, there's a lot to it. And this is how they heal the Pachamama, like how Nicolas's dad, Sebastian, this is how he heals people that have diabetes, and he heals them from diabetes with these understandings, right? It's like, what is your issue? Your issue is too much bitter, but this is something that he feels, from a mile away. It's not something that he has to ask the person what's going on with you. He can hear it and feel it in his speech, the speech of the person that he comes to. He feels the bitterness, and whatever, right? And so there's conflicts with time, there's conflicts with emotions, with the sourness that comes from misery, the losing children, losing parents, things like this. There's a lot of stuff that gets stuck that come out, and so we need to resignify all of those. We need to give a different meaning, and that is part of the merchant. If you guys remember, the merchant is so adequate because the merchant trades, and so one of the functions of, I think, is the third part of the function. Once you went inside of yourself to see, is like, yes, this feels like bitterness, and I have an introspection as to why. What does it come from? Where does it come? What's happening here? Then I have an opportunity to trade, and the trade is a resignifying. It is like this bitterness is actually telling me that I'm ready for a little bit. Like I need to let this go. I want to perceive this not in a bitter situation. It's not the end of his life when my dad passes on. It is that he continues, right? And it is new, and I am going to do everything in my part to make sure that he continues, and so that karma that was in him, that it is now in me, can finally transcend, and holy shit, it's not going to be so much easier. you know, as an example, right? And it's a win-win all around. So that's the training, right? I'm not suffering because like, oh my God, like all of the things that you didn't do, and like, God damn you, all of the suffering, but at the same time, I love you so much. And it's like all of these conflictive emotions and feelings and thoughts, then I can just like let them go, you know, and then start to understand what is the purpose. And this is understanding purpose is the way that you're going to be able to change meanings. How you're able to um, give a positive serving based meaning to everything that you experience. That is what receiving fire is. So yeah, if you're going to use pebbles, as long as you're completely coherent of it, and at the same time you're aware of its collective um, meaning. For example, one of the things that I use very, very rarely when I'm doing like a one-on-one despacho or some cuti despachos that I use dry chile, chile de árbol, which is like very spicy and it's dried. I have a bag of it somewhere in here. And so this right here is like, you can see the seeds. This right here is acid, right? Now, it is crazy because at least in the Mexican tradition, people love this shit. they love to burn, like to be like super spicy in their mouth. And it's just like this here's some fire. It's like, I want more. And so I need to be aware when I'm doing a despacho, what is the relationship of the things that I'm using for the people that I'm doing a despacho? You know, because if I am doing it for myself, great, I have a good connection with it. But if I am doing it collectively, right, I need to explain really well what this is for, you know, or I need to take responsibility for the interpretations as well. And that is a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of, like, if you have a conflict with butter because someone told you that butter is going to clog your arteries and it's going to kill you, then, you know, one way of taking responsibility is explaining the structure, you know, and how the cholesterol and the whole thing, right? Like the understandings that I have, so that you yourself can start making new associations. Because if I just put the butter, then you have like this, like, this dissonance feeling with it, then for you and for the collective, there's going to be a little bit of dissonance in the flow of this despacho. Does that make sense? So there's times when I smoke bufo, and if I'm doing like an opening, I used to do this like for previous initiations, I wouldn't mind so much. You know, I smoke quite a bit of bufo, and I'm doing the despacho, and as I'm doing the despacho, I just I'm connected with the interpretations, the feelings, and it is a whirlwind. You know, it is a lot of energy just moving around, and I am aware of it, and I'm staying grounded as to the flow of those influences, so that, you know, people can feel some faith or some trust, and ultimately just the whole thing is powerful enough so that it doesn't get stuck with any misconceptions. You can when you're starting to do this at the beginning, you know, obviously you're doing it for yourself, so you don't have to worry too much as to the interpretations of others, but just make sure that for you, whatever you're doing, it must be coherent. We had a facilitator a while back that she was a vegan, and I don't have anything against vegans. I'm actually going vegan myself right now, again, for like the second or third time. And so she, one of the things that we do is, if you're dealing with witchcraft, if you're dealing with some sorcery of some type, santeria, voodoo, things that are like powerful symbols that people can use misguidedly to attack you. You know, you did something to deserve this, right? And I've done some things like this to hurt people's feelings unconsciously, right? And one of the things that we do is we use beef. So you go and grab and you buy like a T-bone steak, and it's fresh, right? And this when you're doing it, a lot of people is like, oh, it's like, first and foremost, I'm a vegan, and then second of it is like, this looks like black magic, you know. And it is really important to have, it's like, where does this association come from? Like, where do you have this association from? It's like, well, it's the sacrifice of flesh, you know. Like, it's like all of, like, there's a lot of misguided association and interpretations of what things mean. And so, for example, with meat, it's actually what is representing is your flesh, your body, right? And so if you make it like that, you know, there's, as long as you're conscious of the flesh, what it has been used for, it's serving a good purpose, you know, it's serving you, you know, and you can be grateful, and through you, the connection that that flesh has to the soul of the animal, that transition, it is good karma, you know, you're actually using it in one of the good ways. Now, does it mean that it couldn't have been better? No, of course, right? And that's going to be your relationship with eating meat or not eating meat. You know, that's a personal path for everyone. Everyone has to choose their relationship to the keto eat meat, you know, a couple times a year. Nico and Sebastian, they eat, you know, a couple times a month, you know, and they have a balanced diet like that. They don't do it just because they're craving it. It's more like a body thing. They're asked for, you know, it's pretty interesting enough. Obviously, the way that they do it is very reverent, and aware and responsible. So again, it's a thing for everyone. But those meanings you're responsible for. You're responsible for giving those meanings. Does that make sense so far, Yvonne?
Yes, that was a perfect explanation. Thank you. That's what I was asking for.
Oh, thank you. That was a really good question. Thank you. Gracias. Any other questions or comments before we? Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Andres. I just wanted to share. I wasn't going to, and then in reference to what you guys were talking about, I thought, okay, maybe I should. But you're so proud of me right now because I just totally winged this despacho. So I'm on a journey right now with my son. And on Tuesday we rode the train down to meet some biological relatives, which is like huge, like a huge life thing for me. It's been years of coming to terms with this, and it's been amazing. And then and so I had actually brought just a few despacho things with me because I was planning on doing one down here. And then also I brought my misa, I brought some Qhapaq, but I didn't bring like my whole kit and caboodle. And so I wasn't expecting to do this. This was like spur of the moment. You had sent the message like, we're going to do this today. So today my son is actually sick. So we came all the way down here for Thanksgiving, and now we're missing Thanksgiving because my son is sick. And so we're stuck in the hotel room. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go do a despacho. And it was so interesting because throughout this journey, I brought very little with me. We're trying to pack light. And I've been collecting little things along the journey, like a snack box from the train, like some feathers I'd found when I was walking. And I didn't know why I was collecting them, but they came to me. And as we were doing the despacho, I didn't have most of the ingredients. I wasn't even planning on doing it with you. I was just going to watch. And then I was like, wait, I could use that and I could use that. So I did this whole despacho in my snack box. I emptied it out and I used that for like the wrapping. And I used tissues instead of cotton. I had done all this Qhapaq. So I had all these like used Qhapaq tissues. It's kind of gross, but I was like, oh, that is right there. Put that in there. I didn't have wine, but this morning, I kid you not, I didn't know why, but at breakfast, I grabbed 2 puddings, a red pudding and a white pudding. And I was like, I don't know why I'm grabbing these. And then when you were like red wine and white wine, I was like, I got pudding, celebration. I didn't have flowers, so I used beans. I mean, I just had like all these little random things. I put carnation instant breakfast in there. I didn't have butter.
Pudding is a really good way to celebrate. So
yeah. So I was like, man, I totally winged it. I was really proud of it when it was done. So yeah, like even if you don't have all the ingredients, sometimes like Mother Earth will give you things and you didn't even know why.
Thank you very much for sharing that. That really hit home. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Oh,
because
awesome.
it makes sense. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Cool.
Thank you.
It makes it more graspable and more like because you know I tend to be a stickler for instruction. So what you just shared made me realize that's the stickler in you that wants to have, you know, all of the right ingredients, wants to make sure that I have everything that I need because this is the way it's been instructed. And I usually, I mean, I'm that way with recipes as well. I will do a recipe exactly like it is been said, and then after that, I can change it. So this just really made me realize that for the Despacho, I can wing it as well. I mean, I don't do that much with recipes, but you know, it allows me to wing it as well instead of that perfectionism. So I really appreciate that share. That's a great Thanksgiving gift. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's exactly right. That's actually, and you know, last time that Sebastian was here, we came to see him, and we went to a despacho with him. There's a lot of qualities that you can observe in him as he's doing all of the despachos, but one of the things is when he's here, he doesn't bring coca leaves. So if he has them, he's like very little because you know he's traveling and you know he's careful. But there's a ton of stuff that he usually puts in a despacho that he doesn't have, and so he depends a lot on the people that bring him here. Andrea, and I can't remember the name of the other lady that usually brings Sebastian here to Puebla. And so he's like halfway through the despacho, and he's already given quintos to every single person. And you know, the white flowers and the red flowers, the whole thing, and everybody's already like putting everything. It's already like closing time, right? And then the lady's like, "Oh, I have this," and then she comes in with like a whole bag, and in the middle he's just like starts like he's like almost done with the despacho. He starts like putting all of the bags away. He's like and like opens it up, like he starts like throwing it up just like that. You know, it's like mishki. You know, mishki is like sweetness, sugar, candy. It's like mishki, and he starts like putting it there, and then he grabs something else, and then and so he's like done and it's like so casual too, you know. It's like there's no formality to it. It's like he sees it, he feels it, good. If not, he's like he throws it away, and then later on he just like grabs everything, puts it in the bag. Like it's like thank you, gracias. You know, so it's light. You know, this type of work must be like very not so much in structure, because there has to be some structure to your intention as to how to represent things, right? And it could be that in the middle of the despacho you feel like there's something missing, and you just take a minute. You take a minute to close your eyes and feel in, and then like all of a sudden you notice that you're missing, I don't know, some yellow flowers, you know, for the empowerment. You need some Qhapaq, you know, some personal power, and you bring some flowers to you, right? It could be many different things, but it, like I said, like it must be felt, and that's the key thing. And so when we're thinking about it, when we're thinking about like I need the A, B, C's, D, all the way to the Z, a lot of the times we miss that feeling. That was the main thing that Manuel Quispe used to teach about. All right, guys. Any other questions, comments? No? Sending you guys a big hug. I'll see you guys on next Tuesday. Both
Thank you.
1 and 2. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving,
Happy
everyone.
Thanksgiving, guys.
Thank you.